What we're going to do is jump the starter solenoid, make sure that we got nothing that time. Okay. So now we know that the solenoid's bad. Hey everybody, welcome back. Good old Bumblebee here has been sitting for quite some time outside and has a few things wrong with her. We're not getting any action from the solenoid, which is this guy right here. I shouldn't say we're not getting any. We're getting a clicking, but the actual starter's not turning over. So I went ahead and jumped it, which you can do by just crossing the two main bolts on there, and the starter turned over. So we know that we've got an issue isolated right here in the solenoid. Now, on top of that, she didn't want to start. She kept fumbling over herself, so I am going to finally do the carburetor rebuild video. Get the camera to go where it needs to. Sorry about the lighting conditions. It's kind of crappy outside today. So we're going to pull that guy off, probably make a second video, but we're going to get it filmed today. So removing the solenoid, I am most definitely going to recommend taking the battery out, or at least unhooking the positive lead and the negative lead. Your solenoid may be in a different place. If you don't see your solenoid here, which I can't remember originally where it was at, go back to the first video in this series, and in the description there is a download link for the manual. And in there is where you're going to get all your information. We are going to clean these later. Normally what I do is just put the bolt back on so I don't lose anything. You can see your battery is going to get pretty gunked up, so probably a good idea while you're in here just to clean everything off real good. Sorry. If you guys haven't, make sure you have a hole down here in the bottom of this. You can see the light kind of peeking through. That's a simple fix for if you get wet, which you're probably going to, that you don't have just water or mud sitting down in there. It will drain out. I did make a little cut right here because I'm not taking the entire front plastics off the bike. That would involve getting rid of this, and it's just a complete nightmare to get back here. So much easier just for me to cut a spot right here. This screw is in here pretty good, so I'm using the impact. That looks like I got it. Tight on my wires here. There we go. So when you're attempting to test this, these are the two posts that you want to cross. Okay, and those are pretty dirty as well. Get it to focus. Know if we're going to be able to get that to focus or not that close. Oh, there we go. Right there you can see where I jumped it a couple of times, and the amperage is so high that just from jumping that, it's going to actually melt the bolt. Okay, so here we've got a couple of solenoids that I pulled off of other junk bikes. I'm gonna try to explain a little bit of how these work to the best of my knowledge. So basically what you've got is a device here that will take a high current load and connect the gap in the circuit. And how it does that is by taking 12 volts and ground and causing the device in here to actually bridge and connect the gap like a switch. It'll turn it on and off. So basically how this device works is one of these is going to go to your battery terminal with a heavy gauge wire, positive, and then this one is going to go to a starter with, again, a heavy gauge wire. I'm gonna assume 8 to 12 gauge wire, depending on how big the engine is or how many amps the starter pulls. But we want to use heavy gauge wire on both of these because it's going to have a very high amperage draw. Whereas this, which is basically going to a switch, your starter switch, does not need a heavy gauge. I would say probably between 16 and 18 gauge. Leave that guy on there. So it ended up that I needed to run some extensions. When I originally put the loom back in after I rebuilt it, I apparently made these leads a little bit too short to get to. So to make it easier in case this happens again, I went ahead and just extended the original two that go to the starter button up here. Battery placement in this, where the terminals go, is pretty awful. It's pretty difficult to work with. Using this screwdriver like this kind of helps a little bit to get that bolt started and to stop it from spinning. Most batteries should have, on the back side of that, they should have a spot that's there specifically for, so that that bolt won't move once you've got it threaded. But after time, it kind of wears out. Alright. Don't over tighten your terminals. Just snug them up good. It's the easiest way to ruin a battery. You can have a hell of a time re-tapping that. Right now we're going to run a test run. As you can see, I still have these open. You just want to make sure none of this is touching ground. Make sure that these bolts are kind of snugged up. Remember, this is live now. You've got a hot wire coming here, this red one. So if I've wired it right, we should get a motor starting or an engine turning over. Got headlights, that's good. And that was the issue. So basically now you just want to tuck it however you're going to tuck it. Make sure you clean up these wires. I'm going to put a couple of wire nuts on there and then tape them real good. The other thing, this CRC dielectric grease, I usually put this on, if you're going to get anywhere near water, you really want to be putting this on all of your connections. And basically it's just going to protect it and stop corrosion. This battery got put in almost 3 years ago, and if I didn't put this on there, then those terminals would have been corroded all the hell and back. So this did an excellent job. And again, you can get this out at Walmart. I think it's like $3 or $4. So basically I'm just going to put a little on my fingers. This stuff is real sticky and gross. I don't know about gross, but it's real sticky. And then I'm definitely going to put some down here. Like a good amount. Put it all over anything that's open. I'll put this stuff all over my Honda, the Honda 300. I don't know if you can see it or not. And I mean, I've submerged that thing several times over, and the electrical still works perfectly fine. Make sure you wash your hands real good after you use this stuff. Alright, so I did find the cover from the original bike that I pulled that from. I'm gonna wrap the whole thing just to make sure, but you do want to test again before you do this, because it's a pain in the ass to get everything back the way that it was. For me, I'm just gonna end up wrapping this and then zip tying it to the wire harness down and inside, with the high current wires away from anything important. The solenoid that we pulled out of here was the original one that came on the bike. I've noticed several parts on the Suzuki are ironclad, man. I mean, this thing was built to a different standard back then. Okay, so I'm just gonna basically, I don't know if you can see it or not, take a zip tie and go right around here with it. That's down by the other electrical, and it's still up pretty high. This is gonna be a kind of a key factor. Is when I redid everything, I wanted to make sure that everything was up as high as I could get it comfortably, because we go in the water quite a bit. So the higher this stuff up, the higher up that this stuff is, the better off you're going to be, unless you're completely dunking the bike, which is a whole different process. So there's our zip tie. You can see the positive terminals away from anything. Let me go ahead and back out of here. And you can see we've got plenty of dielectric grease all over the terminals. And let's go ahead and try and do another test start. And we can see the starter turning over now. And carburetor's clogged.